Children's Trust Fund. I represent Region 3.
Dahlia, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Your sound is just a little bit quiet. Do you mind just getting a little closer to the microphone?
Yep.
Thank you so much.
You want me to repeat that?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dahlia Stender with the Idaho Children's Trust Fund Board, and I represent Region 3. Just to remind everybody that Cam is with us this morning. If you have any technical difficulties, please contact her directly. Send her a direct message. And this session is Breaking Chains with Relationships. And the presenters are Luis Fernando Granados and Ezequiel Campos. Okay, looks like we're having my voice go in and out. Is everybody able to hear me okay?
You were coming in and out for me. Was everybody else okay?
The beginning of this.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's just go ahead and start.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you for that introduction. My name is Luis Granados, and I'm Executive Director of Breaking Chains Academy of Development. Today, I got the little homie Zeke Campos with me. He's one of my students here, so he'll be sharing a little later. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here, a pleasure to be able to share this time and space with you all. I hope you enjoy what I prepared for you all today. And I just want to start you off with the video and kind of set the tone and set the mood. So if we can play that video, that'd be great. I'm not hearing any audio.
Is that good?
No.
Can that be heard?
No, I can't. I can't hear
No.
the audio.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm so sorry, Luis.
No,
If
you're
you
fine.
wanna
You want me
go
to try
ahead
to
and share it?
Yeah, let me go ahead and try to share it. And if that notification keeps showing up, I'll just exit out of it.
Okay, I apologize.
No, you're fine. No worries. Let's see.
Luis, I can give it a try as well if you'd like.
Let's see how this sounds.
Okay.
The beginning of this story seems tragically familiar, but what happened in the end was nothing short of astonishing. I think
Luis, we had the sound and now we don't. I think you might need to unmute yourself.
13-year-olds on the street at 1 o'clock in the morning engaged in a gun battle.
Kids in my community plan their funerals and not their futures.
I want you to meet an amazing man, Father Greg Boyle.
A single act of courage, who are risking his life.
Rival gangs creating anarchy.
We are in a war right now.
These are animals.
They are human beings.
Go back to your country. They will kill anybody that's in their way.
I've seen kids turn their lives around.
This is a dangerous, dangerous precedent.
I had this kid named Youngster.
Violence intimidates.
This is a hatred that's really quite personal and deep.
This guy's full of it. I don't want to listen to him.
His willingness even to walk into the line of fire to stop a gunfight.
Why would you risk your life for these kids? I don't think, that I'll live to see 23.
I had this kid, named Youngster. That was his gang name, a little tiny guy, and everybody called him Youngster. And he was like 13, and he'd be riding this bike in the projects. He always had a gun tucked into the front of his pants. He always wanted you to know that he had a gun tucked into the front of his pants. And once he vowed to me, I will never step foot in Homeboy Industries.
I wanted respect. I didn't want anybody to mess with my neighborhood. Violence intimidates and brings fear into people's hearts. And that's just what it's about. One neighborhood has to overcome another by fear. Violence will do it.
But I got to know him, and saw him when he was in juvenile hall and in probation camp and youth authority. Finally, he went to prison at 18.
And I was just like, man, this guy's full of it, I don't want to listen to him. So I didn't listen to him till I was about 17 or 18 when
Really? 2, 3, 4 years went by before you began to pay attention.
Yeah.
I thought he was ready, so I bring him to Homeboy Silkscreen So I'm introducing him to his coworkers, and I'm watching him as he shakes hands with every single one, even enemies. He looks them straight in the eye. And I think, wow, this is great. Until he gets to the last guy, a guy who seems to be wanting to avoid this encounter altogether, a kid everybody called Puppet. And when Puppet and Youngster are in each other's vicinity, they mumble something. They stare at their shoes. They don't shake hands.
I was a little skeptical about, communicating with them because of our history with the gang rivals.
But how many of your friends from Clarence Street Locos have been shot since you've been in the gang?
Since I've been in it, 4 of them.
4 killed?
Yeah.
Who? Why?
When you're time convict, your time comes. You can't say how long you're gonna live.
Well, I know they're enemies because I know what gangs they're from, but he just finished shaking hands with other enemies. I discovered later that this is a hatred that's really quite personal and deep, beyond which neither of them think they can really get past. So I sense that much at the moment, and I say, look, if you guys can't hang working together, let me know. I got a bunch of people who want this job. Calladitos, they don't say a word. People always ask me about enemies working together, and it certainly is dicey, at least initially. And they always do the same thing. They think for a long ass time, and then they say, okay, I'll work with them, but I'm not going to talk to them.
He's a kid who I think has recently discovered who he is and is proud of it. And,
what's his future?
He's working at the moment and shows up every day and likes his paycheck and makes him feel good. And I hope that, he'll move on, get an apartment and get on with his life.
Was it for him, I'd probably been dead by now.
Without Father Greg, you'd be dead, you believe?
A lot of them would have been dead without him.
Really? Why? What does he do?
He's trying to tell us that there's another person inside of us, that we're not all just gangbangers. That we could become, citizens, regular citizens.
Would you like that?
I'll be all right.
That would be all right.
Yeah.
Well, about 6 months later, Puppet goes to this store some distance from his home, one of those little corner stores. He buys something. And on the way home, he decides to take a shortcut. So he dodges into an alley. And because he's taken this detour suddenly, unexpectedly, he's surrounded by 10 members of a rival gang, 10 against 1. And they beat him badly. Somebody finds his body and takes him to White Memorial Hospital, where he's declared effectively brain dead. I've seen a lot of horrible things in my life, but nothing to compare to the sight of this young man with his head swollen many times its size. It was just really, truly horrifying. You could barely train your eyes on him. I was alone in my office, 8:30 at night, and the phone rings, and it's Youngster, Puppet's coworker from the silk screen. And he says, hey, that's messed up about what happened to Puppet. I said, yeah, it is. And then with a certain kind of eagerness even, he said, is there anything I could do? Can I give him my blood? And we both fall silent under the weight of it until finally he breaks the silence, choking back his tears, and he says with great deliberation, he was not my enemy. He was my friend. We worked together.
See, I have seen more pain in my young life than most people in their whole life. My only choice is to go deeper into this life, to lose myself in the darkness.
I'm not sure he's ever going to be able to steer this thing in another direction. Youngster comes into my office one day, and his big dramatic kind of introduction to what he was going to tell me was, what happened to me yesterday, he says, has never happened to me in my life. And so he tells me that he was on the Gold Line after the office had closed, and he was taking the train east to go home. And it was a packed train, but he was able to get a seat. And he said, standing right in front of him, hanging on to this kind of pole, he said, was a medio pedo guy, a guy who was a little bit drunk. He said, I know he's a homie because I can see tattoos on his hand, but he's an older guy. I don't really know who he is. And he was wearing a homeboy sweatshirt that said, jobs, not jails, big thing that said homeboy industries. And the little bit drunk guy says, hey, you work there? He kind of nods. Is it any good? And, well, it's helped me. In fact, I don't think I'm going to go back to prison because of this place. And then he stands up and he fishes into his pocket and he finds a piece of paper and a pen. And he starts to write on this piece of paper the address at Homeboy Industries. And as he's telling me the story, he says, I couldn't believe I knew the address by heart, you know. And so he writes it out and he hands it to the guy. And he says, come see us. We'll help you. And the guy studies the piece of paper and he says, thank you. And the train stops and the guy gets off. And then you can tell he's starting to feel the emotion and he says, what happened to me next has never happened to me in my life. Everyone on the train was looking at me. Everyone on the train was nodding at me. Everyone on the train was smiling at me. And for the first time in my life, I felt admired.
What I want more than anything is for people to know what I know about these kids. And that they are human beings and that they've got a great capacity to love and kid and just be human beings. And if people knew that, they'd do it. They'd give them a chance.
And then Homeboy becomes a sanctuary for folks who feel less than. And then they become the sanctuary that they sought there. And then they go home and provide and present sanctuary for their kids, and cycles get broken. We belong to each other.
So that's Father Greg Boyle. He's the founder of Homeboy Industries, which is the largest gang rehabilitation program in the world. He's a huge inspiration for me, and I apply a lot of his philosophy here at Breaking Chains. I encourage you all to look into his work. You'll truly be amazed by it. So if you would have told me growing up that I would be sitting here as executive director of a nonprofit organization, I would have passed out from laughing too hard. The reason for that is, growing up, I was surrounded by gangs, drugs, and violence. When I thought about my future, all that was certain was death and prison, and I came very close.
You want me to pull it up?
Yeah, if you would, please. Oh, you know what? It's because of this right here.
You got it?
No, it's not. Oh, there he goes.
Okay.
The beginning of this story.
Is it sharing my screen or not?
No. Here, let me pull it up. Is that where you'd like it to be?
Yeah, please. Awesome. I've had bullets fly by my head so close that I could feel the heat radiating off the bullets. I stood in a courtroom at 19 years old, facing 15 years in prison. I've had homies die and then end up in prison due to this lifestyle. But wow, how things have changed. I never could have imagined that I'd be in newspapers, documentaries, podcasts, and I was even named 2020's Youth Mentor of the Year by the Idaho Press. I even got a scholarship to attend CWI. Shout out to Patrick Tanner. And you know, some months ago, I found an old phone and I went through all my old pictures, all my old text messages, my old contact list. And as I was looking at my contact list, I saw names like Chapo, Orejas, Spooky, Shy, Cricket, Little Stomach Ache, you know, all the old homeboys and homegirls I used to hang out with. The crazy thing is that now I look in my phone and email contact list and I see names like Roger Sherman, Andy Rodriguez, who is executive director of Nampa Housing, Gene Mucci from St. Luke's and Nampa City Council, Victor Rodriguez from Nampa City Council, Brian Taylor, who's the Canyon County prosecutor, Canyon County Sheriff Donahue, you know, and this list just goes on. So many things have changed for me, but unfortunately, some things haven't changed. I was born in Grangeville, Idaho, and lived in Whiteford, Idaho until I was about 7 years old. My family was one of the only, if not the only Mexican family in the area at that time. I remember being called names by fellow classmates and not really knowing what they meant at that time. It wasn't until I moved to Nampa that a friend informed me that the names I was being called were racial slurs. So it was about 2 weeks ago when I was here at Breaking Chains and I decided to check the mail. I walked across the street and when I was walking back, I noticed the car slowed down and its windows rolled down. Then someone leaned out the window and at the top of their lungs, they yelled a racial slur at me. This was only 2 weeks ago. And to be honest, I wasn't shocked or surprised. This type of stuff is something I've been dealing with my whole life. And I'm not gonna lie, I admit that with some vulgar words, I invited them to pull over, but of course they didn't. But this incident shows that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done here, and it's up to us to get it done. But anyways, today I don't want this to be about me. Today I want this to be about the beautiful souls that give me hope every day. Today I want this to be about greatness, the greatness that I see every day here at Breaking Chains. Next slide, please. We see if that plays. There's no audio to it. I wonder what's going on.
Is that better?
There's no audio. Let me share my screen again. I think
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I also apologize.
Let's see.
My name is Giselle Morales, and I'm 18 years old, and my interests are drawing and cosmetology, which I really get into. What brought me to Breaking Chains was, at first, I was doing online, but my husband came to the school at first, and it was working well for him, so I was like, you know what, maybe I'll give it a try, see if it works for me. And that's how I ended up here. What I like about Breaking Chains the most is that we're like all a big family.
It won't let me play without it.
We all keep each other, coming to school every day, make sure we're all like have our heads straight, and graduate on time. Looking out for each other. The obstacles that I've faced while I was coming here were taking care of my daughter and being a single mother for now because my husband is incarcerated, and working at the same time, trying to balance it all. my biggest obstacle. Like, I got my GED in November, and now I'm a student at Paul Mitchell's School for Cosmetology. So what brings me hope is my daughter, and just trying to make a good future for her and a good life, and hopefully have a good structure for when my husband gets out, has something to come home to. Hopefully my future looks like I have my own shop open. I'm licensed as a barber and cosmetologist, and my daughter has a happy life. That's what my future looks like. Well, this is my daughter. Her name is Jocelyn, and she is 8 months old.
I'm Campos. I'm 14.
I am Christy Garner. I am 17.
I'm Susan Menchaca. I'm 15.
Wow, that's fair. I'm kind of glad you're
All right. What's talking about Giselle is that, she's a young single mother, and she somehow managed to come to school every day, take care of her baby, and at the same time, she does her own thing. She graduated, which I'm actually pretty proud of her. And that's kind of what inspires me. Like, if she can do it, then I can do it too.
What inspires me the most about Giselle is that she basically is raising mamas on her own right now, and she's going to college full time and doing a job as well. So that's not really easy to be a single mama and alone.
What inspires me is that she's a solid lady. She's strong. And she's what's that word? She can handle her own. Like, she can go to school, college, all that work. And that's good. Good relationship.
my confidence in life.
Gotta keep on walking. Keep on walking. Keep on walking.
I apologize for all the technical difficulties. When I ran through it last night, everything was perfect, but of course today it's going to give me problems. So you heard Giselle mention about Breaking Chains Academy of Development. So let me tell you who we are. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization serving at-risk youth in Canyon County. Now, the way we go about doing this is by providing education services, work skills training, and mentoring through recreational activities. We believe this combination of services provide the hope, skills, and support that are needed in order to empower our youth and help them successfully transition into adulthood. Our targeted youth consists mostly of teenagers ages 14 through 18, youth on probation and/or juvenile drug court, high and low level offenders, high school dropouts, teen parents, and youth in the foster care system, and pretty much anyone who is willing to walk through our front doors. We maintain a good relationship and communication with probation officers, caseworkers, and any type of support system for our youth. Of course, communication is key when helping our youth achieve their goals. The bigger the support system, the less likely they are to fall through the cracks. Our education services are year-round with open enrollment all year. We operate them Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And we believe these hours provide students with enough time to be productive in their studies without being overwhelmed. Our education services consist of a GED HSC curriculum. Our curriculum allows youth to study at their own pace in their own individual study plan with one-on-one tutoring. We also provide a super laid-back, relaxed setting that allows our youth to have fun while learning. Drive me crazy. We guide students step by step in every way possible to help them achieve their goals of obtaining their GED and HSC. We'll provide transportation to and from exams when needed. Donations from donors help cover exam costs when students are unable to acquire funds for testing. And these donations are huge because the majority of our students do come from low income or single parent homes where they do not have the means to pay for the exam costs. A lot of these donations do come from our youth who have graduated from our program. It's always nice to see them come back and help out. This is proof that there is something greater going on here than just achieving their GED and HSC. I believe we are creating community and kinship amongst our students. Providing a relaxed setting is huge when trying to effectively help our students. I have kids who are enrolled at public high schools who stop by and ask if they can study with us. To me, that shows that the problem isn't that these kids don't want to do schoolwork. The problem is where they're doing the schoolwork. So we offer different study areas throughout our location. Some students study better alone, isolated away from others. Others like to interact and be involved in a more group study session. We pay close attention to their strengths and apply it when coming up with their study plans. At our academy, you'll find students from all walks of life interacting and working together, even rival gang members. Wonderful. I had a student named Jake, aka Jake the Snake. Jake lived in the Nampa Housing Authority units with his dad and his grandpa, whom he loved very much. I met Jake when he was about 15 years old, and he enrolled in our education services. It didn't take long to realize that Jake struggled a lot with reading and comprehension, and he would also constantly mix up his letters and his numbers, and his penmanship was barely legible. So we all knew it was going to take a lot of hard work to get him ready for his GED tests, and it did. It took 6 years to finally get him ready to test. He was now 21 years old and had 2 of the 4 GED tests done. I remember one morning he came in with a blank look on his face, and I could tell something was very wrong. When I asked him what was wrong, he told me that his grandpa was on his last days and barely holding on. He went on to tell me that his grandpa had told him that he really wanted to see Jake achieve his GED and his driver license before he passed. So I told Jake, let's do it. Let's get it. And what happened next is what I call greatness. The following week, every morning, he would be at school waiting for me to unlock the doors. He would be the first one in the classroom and the last one to leave. It took him 2 weeks to do what previously had taken him 6 years to accomplish. He passed his last 2 tests and got his GED. That Friday, we celebrated. Now that following Monday, he has scheduled his driving skills test for the driver's license. Monday came and he went and took the test.
Can you make something to eat for next week?
Of course, he passed.
That's not enough. Make
He
him
rushed
an egg.
home. Can somebody mute themselves? He rushed home to let his grandpa know that he had passed the test, but when he got home, he found out that his grandpa had passed while he was out taking the driver's skills test. Jake texted me that night and said, I just hope my grandpa is proud of me. I reassured him that there was no doubt in my mind that he was. Jake actually messaged me the other day and told me that he had found a job and that he had gotten his first paycheck. And with that paycheck, he said he bought some new clothes and sent me that picture there. Now, there are 2 things that stick out to me and stick out to people when I tell Jake's story. One is that Jake's grandpa was obviously holding on until he could see Jake accomplish his goals. Second, people like to tell me, wow, 6 years at Breaking Chains and you didn't give up on him? But that's wrong. I just provided the space and Jake did all the work. 6 years and Jake didn't give up on himself. Again, that's what I call greatness. Not only are we achieving GEDs and HSCs here at Breaking Chain, we are creating leaders and mentors. The most common question I get asked from a student when they graduate is, can I keep coming to school? And my answer is always the same. Once a student, always a student. Graduates often come back and help tutor students. Here you see the little homie Gabe getting tutored by one of the graduates, David. Gabe then graduated, came back, and returned the favor by showing some love to one of our students, Danny. Job skills are important for our youth to become successful and productive members of our community. We have developed partnerships with the Nampa Housing Authority, Idaho Department of Labor, that allows our youth to get job skills training. The Idaho Department of Labor has an amazing program called the WIOA program, which employs our youth full-time and allows them to continue their studies at Breaking Chains. They also provide funding that covers all their exam costs, plus work-related costs such as clothes and gas vouchers. The Nampa Housing Authority also provides our youth with on-the-job skills training. They have helped our youth complete community service projects for drug court and community service hours for probation. They have a wonderful group of maintenance guys over at Nampa Housing that not only teach our kids job skills, but they mentor them as well. They've helped our kids study for GED tests and even have helped them study for the driver's license. Scott Sheridan is one of our students who enrolled in our education services, as well as the WIOA program to get work skills training. I'll let him share his story in his own words.
My name is Scott. My age is 17 years young. My interests are to work on cars or anything to do with cars. Anything to do with music, like listen to music, make music, and spend time with my family. So what brought me to Breaking Chains was, at first I was court ordered to attend this program because I repeatedly kept getting kicked out of multiple schools. And the judge thought it was best for me to come here, and eventually I took an interest in this program myself, and I'm taking the initiative to come here almost every day and to work on my GED. What I like about Breaking Chains is the recreational activities that are offered here, such as the recording studio, the pool table, the computer lab, and the game systems. But most recently, the staff and peers have been giving me support through my struggles with my father passing recently, so I'm thankful for that. What brings me hope is knowing that my dad was a successful and intelligent man with anything that he did, which gives me the strength and power to push myself further and to obtain my GED and anything positive in the future. What my future looks like is to graduate from Breaking Chains by the end of 2020 and to get myself a full-time job to support my family and to make my dad proud. Before I attended Breaking Chains, I was on probation, using drugs and always up to no good and hanging around the wrong crowd. Now, despite the passing of my father and changing my life around, I stopped using drugs, I changed my social environment, and now I am more than halfway done with getting my GED and HSC.
I'm proud to say that Scott achieved his GED last month on the 25th of February. He's still working with the Nampa Housing Authority through the WIOA program, and his next goals consist of achieving his driver's license and buying his first car. Also, he hopes to eventually be able to work for Breaking Chains and give back to the community. Scott actually stopped by my office last week, and from his first paycheck, donated some money to sponsor a student and cover all his exam costs. So that was pretty neat of him. We provide youth with mentoring to help navigate and educate them through the obstacles they face while on their journey to adulthood. One of the ways we find this to be most effective is through recreational activities. We provide on-site activities such as billiards, computer lab, game console, ping pong, and our most popular attraction, our recording studio. Our recording studio allows youth to come in and produce and record their own music. Often we see kids come in to use our recording studio, and before we know it, they're signing up for our education services. It's also a huge incentive for our students to attend daily, knowing that after class, they'll be able to partake in using our recording studio. For many students, being able to create music is more than just a fun hobby. It's an outlet for frustration or happiness. I invite you to listen to a song that one of our students, Elian Acosta, created here at Breaking Chains. Listen closely and you'll hear his testimony. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. Trying to take something negative and turn it into something positive, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Trying to change it, trying to change the game, but in a better way. I was homeless for 2 months, I didn't have a place to stay, but now I got it, yeah, I got the knowledge. Now I'm really balling, and I'm barely getting started. Once I'm on, I'm never stopping. God gave me a plan, and I'm on it. I'm running to the top, I'm not walking. God gave me a gift, and that is a state of mind. I was living in a lie before I found Jesus Christ. I'm no longer walking blind. I ain't got no worries, I don't feel them. Death is building up, there's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord, cause he's the realest, the realest, the realest. Yeah, the Lord's the realest. Death is building up, there's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord, cause he's the realest, yeah. I was out there on the streets. I didn't even have a home, I didn't have nothing to eat. I didn't have no peace, being lied to by the enemy. I had my family, but I was out there busy smoking weed. I was in defeat, now I'm trying to do it different. Yeah, I got a better vision, now I got better intentions. I was feeling so empty, but the Lord filled what was missing. I was feeling so angry, but in my heart is where the Lord is living. Now I'm out here rocking with the Lord. Now I know I'll never hit the floor. He saved me from a world of hate and pain. I was walking through the storm, but now he brightened up my day. I'm finally saved. I ain't got no worries, I don't feel them. Death is building up, there's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord, cause he's the realest, the realest, the realest. Yeah, the Lord's the realest. Death is building up, there's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord, cause he's the realest. Now I got the inspiration, yeah, I got the motivation. Yeah, the Lord defeated Satan, so I got back what was taken. Now I'm only moving forward because greatness is awaiting. The Lord is coming back, and his people's who he's taking. Jesus Christ is my savior, and my life is what he's changing. And he fights all of my battles, doesn't matter what I'm facing. And I know that life is hard, but don't ever let your faith in. Just give your life to God, he'll take you to better places. Just know the struggle's part of God's plan. All the pain made me who I am. It made me stronger, it made me a better man. Don't ever quit, he's gonna take us to the promised land. I ain't got no worries, I don't feel them. Death is building up, there's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord, cause he's the realest, the realest, the realest. Yeah, the Lord's the realest. Death is building up, there's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord, cause he's the realest. Yeah. Stay positive, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. God bless.
Our offsite activities are my favorite. We have field trips to the movies, gym, restaurants, arcade, the Village in Meridian, downtown Boise, and even fishing trips. These offsite recreational activities are very important, not only for leisure and fun, they're also very important to expose our youth to the bigger picture, expose them to different social environments and activities. It's important to show them that there is something much greater than their neighborhood or their immediate group of friends. You'd be surprised how many of our youth who are ages 14 through 18 have never left Canyon County, let alone their own neighborhood. Again, the majority of our youth are from low income or single parent homes where they do not have the means to do these type of recreational activities. I had a 16-year-old student who was high-risk probation and on house arrest. He, of course, wasn't allowed to leave the home unless he was coming to school or had permission from his probation officer. He had been having a rough week in class, so I decided to cut him a deal. I said, if you have a good week in class, I'll ask your probation officer if I can take you out to play some basketball. So the week passed, and of course, my student had a terrible week in class, but I still decided to take him out to play some basketball. We played a few games, had a bunch of fun, and headed back to school. Now, on the way back to the school, my student kept saying, wow, that was so much fun. Can we do it again? When can we do it again? A minute would pass and the same thing. Wow, that was so much fun. Can we do it again? If so, when can we do it again? It honestly reminded me of my daughter when she was around 8 and I would take her to the arcade. The whole way home, she would be saying the same thing. Wow, Dad, that was so much fun. Can we do it again? When can we do it again? A minute would pass and same thing. Wow, Dad, that was so much fun. Can we do it again? So it was just funny to me at first how a 16-year-old can remind me so much of my 8-year-old, but then it dawned on me. That's exactly what the majority of my students are. Just kids who never had anyone to take them to the arcade. We had the opportunity of having Ross Garvin and Logan Brewer from the Canyon County Probation host a UFC fight night at Breaking Chains. I was surprised on how many of our students showed up on a Saturday night. We had the UFC fights projected on the wall, and Ross and Logan made carne asada, rice, and beans for the students. I have to be honest with you that I was a little skeptical of a white guy making carne asada, but Ross did an amazing job and it was delicious. Later that night, I saw him throw a tortilla in the microwave, so I had to dock him some points. But it was just nice to see the kids, you know, on a deeper personal level with the probation officers instead of just seeing them when they're in trouble or they have a scheduled probation meeting. Now, the people who understand our community the best are people who have come from it and can relate to our students. So we love when we have community members come in and interact with our students. Lupita Garcia is a local tattoo artist and founder of the brand Sin Miedo, and Alex Vasquez is a local tattoo artist and owner of Black and Gray Studios. We had the pleasure of them coming in and sharing their talent with our students. If you listen closely to this video, you'll actually hear a song from the little homie Z Campos, so pay close attention and enjoy it.
Is anyone there? I think I might be just a little bit. Am I? Oh yeah? For sure. I don't know if God exists, but I believe in demons. They're the reason I ain't sleep, but a natural life for living. If God was real, why would he put me up in this position? He could have put me on a boat, trade fucking fish, but now he chose to put me in the fucking ghettos. One stuck, a lot of raps to other people instrumentals. He put me in a place I'm losing my friends to the system. Anyone? Yeah. Just a bit. Always feels like I am. Oh yeah. Yes sir. Just the way I dress, just the way I look. People look at me and then they get afraid and shook. They scared cause I look like a fucking angry crook. But every day I go to school and hit the fucking books. I read the pages, I'm trying to get my GED, so I can have a future and have a real family. I wanna have better than what I did as a kid. I wanna have my son live a better life than I did. I wanna do. And I shed so many tears. I won't want it to be an alcoholic drinking beers. I don't want it to be smoking. We just get rid of the stress and the pain. He doesn't want it all to go away. I want him to be happy on his long fucking own and live a solo life and go down his own road. I don't want him to follow the footsteps of his dad. I don't want him to go down that damn path. Can you? Anyone? Yeah. Always feels like it. Oh yeah. Yeah. And God, if you're listening, I ain't fucking dissing. I just have questions, what's the answers I still be missing? I have prayed, you still have the answer to this day. And sometimes I wonder if the shit will change. I'm asking you to make my life a little bit better. I'm asking you to help me make a little bit of cheddar. I'm trying to find a way to make the money double, but I'm also trying to find a way to stay out of trouble and get out the struggle and try to fucking hustle so I don't be broke when I'm fucking grown. So I'm not a bum and I live it on my fucking own. Can you hear me? Can you? Anyone? Am I losing my mind? I think I am. Am I losing my mind? Just a bit. Am I? Always feels like it. Won't you rescue me? Will you? Talking in my mind.
The most powerful medicine we have is love. The vehicle in which that love gets transported is through relationships. This is a quote that I once heard on a podcast, and it's resonated with me. The reason is because, yes, our education services, work skills training, and recreational activities gets them through those doors, but nothing would get done without relationships. And that's what we do here at Breaking Chains. We build relationships. We are not here to change them. We are here to accept and love them just the way they are. People assume that I get kids out of gangs. No, I don't get kids out of gangs. I accept and love them regardless whether they're in a gang or not. Now, does unconditional love and guidance sometimes lead kids to leave that lifestyle? Oh, absolutely. But they make the decision, not me. Now, building these relationships consists of understanding that these kids are living in the margins. It is our duty to join them if we truly want to understand their traumas and responses that are due to those adverse childhood experiences. Remember that these are fragile minds and fragile hearts we are working with. So be very aware on how you show up. I've learned many things here at Breaking Chains throughout the years. I've learned that I don't work with at-risk youth. I share my life with them, and they share their life with me. I've learned that we call them at-risk youth, but in reality, they are the future leaders of our community. Imagine how foolish we would be if we didn't invest in them. I've learned that I am not here to make a difference in their lives. I am here so they can make a difference in mine. Like Father Greg Boyle says, we stand with the demonized so that the demonizing may stop. We stand with the disposable so the day may come when we stop throwing people away. I have a 16-year-old student named Jose, and now the first time I met Jose, he was actually at the park behind the school beating up a guy, and shortly after that, he was in my office signing up for our education services, and then he was attending class. And there's an activity I do with my students where I put the words dreams, hope, and adversity up on the whiteboard. I then have my students share with me what their dreams are, what the hopes are, what their adversity is in life. And we start filling these columns out. Now, when we started filling these columns out, Jose shared that his dreams were to own his own barbershop. So I wrote business owner in the dreams column. In the hope column, Jose shared that his homies gave him hope. So I wrote hope in the hope column. Now, when we got to the adversity column, I asked the class, okay, so what are some obstacles, some challenges, or adversity that you face in life? Without missing a beat, Jose shared staying alive, simply surviving. So I went ahead and wrote it in the adversity column. Now, to some, the basic need of staying alive doesn't even cross our minds when we're asked what kind of adversity or obstacles we face. To these kids, this is very much their reality. When they step out their door, the question is always there. Will I make it home tonight? So a couple weeks later, when I woke up to the news that a 16-year-old boy had been shot twice, I felt sick to my stomach. I started doing a mental roll call of all my 16-year-old students and immediately thought to myself, Jose. And it was Jose. He had been shot twice, once in the chest and another in the leg. When police arrived, they found him laying in the street, bleeding profusely. He was rushed to the hospital where they saved his life. The next few days at Breaking Chains were tough. The students and I were trying our best to act as normal as possible but the fake smiles and laughter were very transparent. It was a stressful week for all of us. It was only about a week and 5 days later when the front door slowly swung open. Someone or something was struggling to get inside. All of us stared in anticipation to see who it was. Jose came limping in with the help of a walker and bandages all over his body. He literally still had the bullets inside of him. He limped over, grabbed his folder, grabbed his workbook, sat down, and got right back to work. I made it very clear to Jose that he could take time off to recover, but he just shook his head and said, "Nah, I need to get my GED so I can start barber college." And eventually he did. He got his GED.
You passed, dog. You fucking passed, homie. You fucking passed, dog. Hey, yeah, bro. You fucking got it, bro. 152, homie. You got that shit. 152, dog.
Court is positive.
Got that shit. Hell yeah, bro.
But Jose's story doesn't stop there. It's actually just the beginning.
Okay, so we heard a little bit about your story and heard that you want to attend Boise Barber College. So we are going to make that happen, and you're going to start on April 19th.
Yeah.
Please excuse my language and my voice cracking. I was super emotional for both those moments. But thanks to Boise Barber College, who heard Jose's story, they gave him a full ride scholarship to attend. So now he's on his way to achieve his dreams and goals. He starts on April 19th. Jose is the perfect example of the greatness that all these kids have inside. Also, that not even bullets can stop our future leaders from achieving their goals and dreams. So now, like I mentioned earlier when we started, I got the little homie Zeke with me. Zeke's 14 years old. He's one of the students here at Breaking Chains. I've known Zeke for about a year and a half now. And so I just brought him along today, and I want him just to kind of share his story, share his testimony. And Zeke reminds me a lot of that quote that we heard in Father Greg's Boyle video that I played at the very beginning that says, "I've felt more pain in my young life than you felt in your whole life." So I'll hand it over to Zeke and just let him share a little bit about his story.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's see. All right. So I think I'm just gonna start off from where I'm from and my childhood growing up. So originally I was born out of Falls, but at a very young age, which I obviously don't remember. I was moved down here to Nampa area. But in that time, I didn't even know my father. He was in prison. My mother, she was a drug addict, methamphetamines. So growing up, it was just me and my siblings, mostly just me and my brother. My sisters didn't really like me. So growing up, it was always, I knew everyone in the whole city. You know, people walk up to me now to this day and say, "Oh, I know your mom. I know your dad." And obviously I know it's from either gang banging or drugs. And like Louis said, growing up, I've always been around drugs, violence, and gangs. So the way I see it as, is it expected of me to hop in it, or is it expected of me to lead the lifestyle that I've seen my whole life? I think it is. It's more like I have this little saying, it's expected of a child who was neglected. More like, I will never have no one pay attention to me, so I pay attention to myself on my own. So like, let me see. So growing up, it was just me. Foster care was always me. I think all my brothers and sisters, they had each other, but I was always the odd man out. I was always the one getting in trouble. If something happened, it was always Zeke's fault. If something was missing, it was Zeke's fault. Something was broken, it was Zeke's fault. So then I kind of took that into my own mind and I said, well, let's make it my fault. So when something was missing, it was Zeke's fault. So I said, all right, so I'll take things. I will start doing things to make it that way. And then when it started coming to the gang banging, it was always expected. So I wasn't really even gang banging. I was just around. And people were always like, well, I'm not surprised. So to me, it was just like, all right, if you're not surprised, then let's see how surprised you get when I take it that far. And at some points, it's gone pretty far. There's times where I feel like I was almost gonna lose my life. There's times where I feel like I was gonna see my brothers lose his life, my homies, my best friends. There's times where I was on my own. I slept outside. You know, I used pants and shirts as blankets. I used my jacket as a little blanket on the floor. I slept outside my old middle school times. I slept in my football field because no one wanted me. My grandma kicked me out at 13. I moved in with my grandpa, who 5 to 6 months later got busted for selling meth next to my middle school. So where should I go with this?
Tell me a little about yourself, your experiences in the foster care system.
All right. In foster care, it was definitely the worst years of my life. It was always, I feel like, more neglected than the rest. Like I said, everything was my fault. I could never go outside. I would always be the one to get hit. I would always be the one to get thrown around. I used to live with these old people, and the old man actually, want to say, he physically abused me, like always punching me, slapping me, you know, but he never do it to my brother and my sisters. Like, I would never let him. I would always be the one, like, no, don't do it. But so after foster care, I moved with my tia Diana, but she never paid attention to us. It was just for the money that the state was gonna give her for taking care of us. So obviously she didn't pay attention to us. So I was out doing whatever I wanted to do, coming home late, breaking rules, breaking into houses. So it kind of became a habit for me. Then when I moved in with my grandma Elva, I was too much for her to handle. I would never come home on time. But at those times, I was so used to being on my own. I learned how to cook when I was in foster care. I learned how to iron when I was in foster care. I learned how to use tools when I was in foster care. Like, you know, I was fixing my own bike. I had no one to fix my bike. I wish I had a dad to fix my bike for me or to show me, you know. It was me doing it all on my own. And then got to the point where I was like, I was teaching myself to do things the kids my age shouldn't have even done. I was teaching myself how to lie, how to steal, how to hop fences when I'm running from the cops, how to do all this, how to break into a house without getting caught. You know, I was teaching myself all these skills. And then it's just like, whoa. I never had a childhood, you know? I always had to be more grown than the rest. Like, I look at my older sisters, I think they're still more childish than me, but I feel like it's because they've had it better than me. I feel like I was born at the wrong time in my parents' life or the wrong time in the world. Because my sisters, they talk about happy memories with my mom and my dad, but all I can remember is abuse, drugs, tweakers coming in and out of my house, you know, a lot of stuff like that. But now it's just like, now that I'm here at the school, and Luis has told me something like somewhere along the lines, like he feels like his childhood is robbed. And I put that on my own situation, like, yeah, my childhood was robbed too. I mean, I'm still a kid and I'm still like, I'm still being robbed now to this day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm everyone thinks I'm a grown man, and I like to think not because the way I look, but because the way I act and the way I address myself. And that's just the way it has to always been. You know, I was 12 years old kicking it with 32-year-olds thinking I was probably 16-year-old. I was doing a lot of dumb things, but now I'm literally grown. I have a son. You know, he's about 4 months now. So now it's like I'm grown. I'm not a little boy no more. I never was a little boy, but now I can't be a little boy. I have a son. Now I'm always constantly trying to find work. I'm always trying to constantly find a way to stay out of the streets. And that's when this place comes in. He allows me to stay a few hours after school. Well, those few hours after school to me is a few hours of being able to live my life, because like he says, walking out my grandma's front door is, will I make it back today? And I always know the answer is maybe. But when I spend my time here we do 3-4 hours of school, but I come here for 6 hours a day. And those 6 hours are my 6 hours of life, my 6 hours of, like, what's the word that you got it? It's insured. It's insured. Those are my insured 6 hours of life. Those are my promised 6 hours of life. Because when I leave this school and I start walking around the streets, it's like, who's gonna come to me next? Who's gonna try to start with me? Who's gonna try to take my life today? Who's gonna try to take me away from my son? Who's gonna try to take me away from my family? That's the way I think nowadays. But over here, when I'm with him, I don't think about, oh, am I gonna die? Nah. I think about, when am I gonna get my GED? What song should I make today? Who's gonna play me at pool today? Who am I gonna have fun with? What am I gonna learn? And it's always positive things. It's always, I don't know. I think me and him grow a relationship to more like father and son. Like father and son. He gives me advice about things that no one would have ever, talked about. I don't have a father to ask about how do you be dad. No, I don't have a grandpa to ask how you be dad. My tios are all in prison. My tias are all in prison. So how do you be a parent is a question I can't ask no one in my family or in my life. But when it comes to him, he's had places where he's like, man, I'm still not ready to be a dad. And I'm just like, he's helping me step by step, teaching me what I should do and how I should act in certain situations toward either my baby mama or my son, or when I go to court for custody. It's always like I think he helps me be a dad, the way I see him act. And when he brings his daughter around and the way he acts with her, I'm just like, that's a dad. And he told me you don't have to buy him the best. You don't have to give him more than what you have. He said just the fact that you want to be there and be around is you already being a better dad than what your dad was. And I took that to heart. It really made me open my eyes and like, well, dang, I guess I am a dad. I think I'm a pretty good dad now. But before I was always like, I can't buy nothing for my son. I barely get to see him. I don't know. I mean, obviously my baby mom gets like wick and stuff, but it always just makes me feel guilty when she's like, I do all this on my own. And she's like, makes me feel like I'm not a dad, but the way when he explains it to me is you're a dad. He said, you may not be the best dad. He's like, but you're definitely a better dad.
Yeah, appreciate it, homie. Thank you, brother.
I was rambling,
bro. Love you. That's my little homie Zeke right there. He says I'm like his dad, but I thought he was gonna say like big brother or something, but I guess I'm getting older. The Zoom camera ain't helping either. I just realized that. But yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate you so much. He's my little superstar here. Honestly, I always bring him around with me, so that he can speak and talk. And I'm scared he's gonna start charging me, honestly. But he's my little superstar for sure. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you, homie. So I just want to leave you guys with one more story of one of my favorite students. Well, I say that about all my students, and I mean it every time. But I have a student named Caesar, who's 15 years old, and Caesar lives with his grandma and his 6 siblings on the north side of Nampa. So it's a total of 8 of them living in a unit of the Nampa Housing Authority. Now, the reason Caesar and his 6 siblings live with grandma is because their parents have been in and out of prison for the majority of their lives. His grandma works her butt off to be able to provide, support, and show them all love. And she does a really good job at it. So it was around Christmas time when one of my graduates, an older homie, came by and said he wanted to do something special on Christmas for a family. I let him know that I had the perfect family in mind.
So the older homie came by, he dropped off some secret Santa slips for Caesar's family to fill out. And now these slips had questions like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What do you enjoy doing? And what do you need? Of course, the purpose of these slips is to give you an idea of what to gift the people you're buying the gifts for, right? So the day came to turn in the slips. And as I went through the slips, I noticed that Caesar's slip was missing. When I asked him why, he simply just said, I lost it. I rolled my eyes, went over to the computer, did a quick Google search, and printed him one off the internet. I told him, hurry up and fill it out, and he did. He handed it to me, and as I was walking back to my office, I decided to be the nosy person I am, and I took a look at his slip. The first question was, what's my favorite color? His response, red. Favorite food? Raspberries. What do I enjoy doing? Hanging with the homies and playing pool at Breaking Chains. And at the very bottom of the slip was the last question. What do I need? His response, nothing. I sighed and called him to my office. Bro, you need to write something instead of nothing on that last question so that they can get an idea of what to get you or what you need. And I remember Caesar just paused and he looked at me and then he responded, I have my sweatpants, I have my sweatshirt, I have my siblings, and I have my grandma. I have everything I need. Of course, I was taken back by his response. Here's a 15-year-old kid living with 6 siblings and his grandma on the north side of Nampa, not asking for anything else. Meanwhile, we're over here asking for more, and more. Shoot, I throw the biggest fit if I don't get a haircut every week. That's literally how petty I am, no joke. But his response humbled me. It made me put into perspective of what's really important in life. It also reminded me of a quote I once heard. We've been doing so much with so little for so long that we can do anything with nothing now. And although Caesar responded that he didn't need nothing, he doesn't need anything, I know what he needs. I know what Zeke needs. I know what Giselle needs. I know what Scott needs. I know what all my students need. A fair shot. They need a fair shot. And it's my job, it's your job, it's our job to make sure that they get it. So thank you. It's been a pleasure to be with you all. I apologize for all the technical difficulties with the audio and the video. I'll have to make it up to you. I invite you all over to Breaking Chains Academy of Development. We're located on the north side of Nampa. You can look us up on breakingchainsacademy.com. Just come visit, come hang out. And I guarantee that you'll fall in love with all the students and you'll see why my passion runs so deep for these kids and this place. This place is where my heart is at. So if we have some time remaining, I'd love to take some questions, or I can even pull up the chat box and see if there's any questions on there. Maybe we can unmute the mics and if anybody has any questions for me or Zeke.
If you have a question, just unmute yourself and feel free to ask. If you're feeling shy, pop it in the chat. It sounds like Luis will be able to read it and answer for you.
So I don't have a question. I just have something to say. I feel like you're the modern day Hillary Swank from the Freedom Riders. In my life, I've had a lot of trauma that I don't remember, but there's some that I do. And I have 5 other siblings who have had such a hard, like their life has been harder than mine, but they're still so strong and we're still trying to be there for them. And I feel like for my younger brother, to take him to your place would be amazing. I feel like you guys are all so strong for still going and still fighting and seeing the greatness in you, you know. I sound so stupid. But I feel like there should be more people like you around. There should be more people who give everyone a chance and just believe in them. You know, your words have been amazing, and seeing your video yesterday was just so inspiring. And I showed it to my older brother, and he's like, I want to even go there myself, you know, with how good of the work that you're doing and how, you know, you're helping everyone, even when, you know, you could be doing other things with your life, and you're dedicating your time to these kids and everyone going there, you know, like, thank you. And we all appreciate you, and your life is just amazing, you know?
Well, thank you so much for your words. I really appreciate you. And to be completely honest, you know, when these kids graduate from my program, I get a lot of the kids tell me like, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for all you did. But they have no idea that they're the reason that I get up every morning. They're my heart, they're my everything. And without them, I honestly don't think I'd have any reason to want to stick around here. And the reason that my passion runs so deep for this place is something that I didn't share in this year's workshop, but I did share in last year's workshop, was that I actually myself went through this program when I was 15 years old. And so I got introduced to this program, and I remember it was just keeping me busy and productive. And although I didn't completely leave the gang lifestyle when I was involved with the program, what this program did and all these mentors around me did was plant the seed of that hope, that there is hope out there. And I remember that I was sitting in that jail cell for a year and just reflecting on that, and knowing that that seed was planted of hope in me, and just kind of realizing, reflecting on all my traumas and all my past decisions. And I remember the first thing I did when I got out was actually I came right back to this place, and still wearing the same clothes I got arrested in a year later. I came back, the doors were unlocked, everybody embraced me with hugs, and there it was. That's where I found my hope. And so I always just kept kind of connected with this place. And next thing you know, I was 24 years old. I was ready for change in my life, and they offered me a job. At the time, I was working in a warehouse making minimum wage. And I remember the executive director, Steve Toronto at the time, sat me down in his office and said, "Hey, I have a job opening for you. Would you like it?" And, you know, and I was like, absolutely. And I remember one thing that always stuck out to me was he asked me, "How much are you making right now?" And I told him, "Well, I'm making a minimum wage." And he said, "No, not no more. We're going to double that for you." And so for somebody to believe in me and give me that opportunity, there's no way I was going to let them down. So that's why my passion runs so deep for this place. Because of this place, I'm still here. Because of this place, I am not in prison. I am not dead. And I know that I have to do everything in my power to keep those front doors open so that I can continue being able to share my life with these kids, and being able to just be around them, and yeah, and just, you know, feel their love every day.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we basically raised ourselves, and I was never in the foster care. And, you know, for Zeke, like you, like, that's amazing to go through all these things and like still make something of yourself, you know. And like, you know, we raised ourselves, but, you know, we're trying to look, we all three older ones graduated high school, even when like our whole family was like, why are you even going through it? You know, you're not even going to get anywhere. A high school diploma doesn't do anything for you. You know, none of our family supported us, and they still don't. So we have, I actually like just completely ghosted myself from my family, and I haven't seen them in a few years. The only ones that I get to see every now and then are my siblings. And I'm just trying to make myself better so that when they're ready to move out, they'll come with us, because they just, you know, their life is so hard. And what I know, once they come with us, we'll be able to give them, you know, the education they need, the housing that they need, everything that, you know, will make their life just better. And I think your place is great, and I want to take them there so bad, you know, but I just hope I get the opportunity to.
Absolutely. You're all more than welcome. The doors are open. Something that's always stuck out for me from Zeke is when I heard him, he was sharing a story with me one time, and there's two things he said. I remember the first one was, in my family, the women in my family make terrible moms, but they make great grandmas. And, you know, and when he said that, it took the breath away from me, because there's so much in that. But also I remember he was talking to me about how he was growing up and how he would be home alone all the time because his parents were gone. And I remember he told me, he said, "Shoot, I was cooking on the stove at the age when they were telling the kids to stay away from the stove." And I remember he told me that, and I was like, wow, like, you know, that's incredible. This guy's a superstar. He's amazing. That's why I have him with me everywhere I go. I'm still kind of hurt that he called me like a dad figure. I thought I was that big bro figure, but I guess I'll let it. I started working here when I was 24. So back then I felt like an older brother, but I'm like slowly transitioning into like the cool uncle. Then I'm like the dad now. Eventually I'll be like the grandpa or something. But I have big dreams for this guy. I told him, bro, you're going to be running this place. You and the other students are going to be running this place. This is your space.
I just want to tell Zeke that your son's not going to remember the diapers or the clothes you bought for him, but he'll remember you being present in his life. Being present and being a dad is what he'll remember.
Oh yeah. The cutest thing I saw was Zeke told me, he's like, oh, my son's at my house. And then he just took off full sprint through the school, out the front door, and just run into his house to go see his kid. And that was it gave me, I felt so much love in that to know that, you know, you have these people out there who are trying to stay away from their kids. And this guy is 14 years old, trying to be there as much as he can. It's amazing. This guy's, he's a superstar. He's amazing.
Luis, people are asking how they can give to Breaking Chains. Tell them how to donate.
Absolutely. So if you go on our website, breakingchainsacademy.com, there'll be a donate button and you can go ahead and donate through there. You'll also find our mailing address on there. So if you would like to send donations as far as money through the mail, checks, that works as well. Or if you would like to stop by our location, we're always, you know, we always take in food for the students. We'll take in hygiene products, clothes, things of that nature. And yeah, so we have a kitchen here. We like to keep the fridge stocked with food. We get a lot of the kids that show up and first thing in the morning as they go and grab something to eat, grab breakfast. And that says a lot. That says that either, you know, the student didn't get an opportunity to eat that morning. Maybe he didn't have food. Maybe he hasn't, you know, ate since the night before. So that says a lot. So we like to keep our fridge stocked. We also have a hygiene closet that we like to keep shampoos, deodorant, and things of that nature in there as well. So yeah, absolutely. Our website, you'll see a donate button. You'll see our physical address. Yeah, so I have a question that says, are all the kids that attend court-ordered or are they voluntary enrollments? So the majority of our kids are on probation and court-ordered to come or probation ordered to come, but our doors are open for anyone. It doesn't matter if you're here for probation or drug court. If you're willing to come through those front doors and participate, everybody's more than welcome. Like I mentioned earlier, the ages we do focus on are 14 through 18, and you can't start taking GED exams until you're at 16, but we do take 14, 15-year-olds and we get them prepared. So as soon as they turn 16, they can start testing.
I think that comment about expanding Breaking Chains is really important because we were thinking about bringing it closer to the Ontario area because, you know, we've noticed with all the dispensaries opening up and everything, I think violence is just expanding and, you know, reaching younger ages. So I feel like expanding it closer this way, you know, would be amazing and wonderful if that's an option, if you guys were thinking, you know, really to consider it.
No, absolutely. That's in the future plans. That's our future dreams and goals is to expand. We're located over here on the north side of Nampa, but we need to get out to Caldwell. We need to get out to Ontario. We need to start making our way that way, both ways, because this is not just a problem here in Nampa. This is something that's going on everywhere. And so if we have more resources like this for the youth, you know, the community will benefit greatly from that for sure. Yeah, we've had youth from Ada County come over as well. The only thing at the moment, we don't have transportation. So the transportation is kind of an issue to get students here from Caldwell or Meridian and Boise, but we've had students from different counties attend.
I am so sorry to be this person, but we have to wrap it up. But I know that we've dropped your information, Luis, in the chat. If people want to connect with you or have other questions, is it fine for them to reach out?
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
I'd love to connect. Feel free to reach out. Come and visit. Let's be friends.
All right. So thank you so much. And again, I apologize to have to close out such a
You're
great
fine.
conversation. Thank you, Luis, and thank you, Zeke, so much for sharing your story. We really appreciate it. And for the rest of folks, we are gonna move into a quick time to reflect on what we've been talking about. Everybody's getting back together as a group. Really quickly, I'm gonna drop this in the chat. And then we will see you there. And Tabor, do you happen to have that on you? I've got too many computers up and running at the moment.